What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the channel with me, Clint Boogie. We are here. NFL Divisional Round Playoffs. The Final Four, respectively. Let's see how this all turns out. I'm gonna give you some of my inside analytics and what are my touch points as far as these games. But you know how we get down with this channel. I'm just gonna give you these picks. Hopefully these are some winners. Ultimately, let's make some money. First game up are the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Very interesting game at task. Both teams trending in the right directions, seemingly at the right time. Obviously, last week we got to see the miraculous comeback from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still to this day, I have no idea what the LA Chargers were thinking, why their clock management was just way off. I have no idea. I'm surprised that they're maintaining that coach because to me, he belongs on the unemployment line for all the mishaps that took place. Don't understand being up 27-0 at one point and forcing the opposing quarterback to throw 4 interceptions on one half and then turn the polar opposite in the second half to ultimately lose the game. I'm sure heads are spinning, heads are turning, and people are on the chopping block. But like I said, if it were up to me and my decision making, that coach in the LA Chargers leading the helm, he would be gone. But that's neither here nor there. As it pertains to this game, look for Jacksonville to continue their charge. Seems like Trevor Lawrence has figured it out. What I mean by that, he's utilizing all the weapons that he has. He's utilizing Travis Etienne, who's in the backfield, manning the backfield for them. And that defense has picked it up. They have taken things to another notch. And, they are pumping fear. It's not going to be an easy task for Kansas City because that's who they're posed with this weekend. On the other side, what can I say? You have Kansas City Chiefs. You start off with the head of the snake, Patrick Mahomes. He's head and shoulders above in every statistical category regarding the quarterback position. He's prolific. He's a superstar, arm talent out the wazoo. You can name it. And he has his security blanket, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is the tight end, but he's probably one of the best receiving tight ends. You know what? Let's just say it. He's the best receiver in football right now. When it comes, he runs routes like a wide receiver. He blocks. He does all the functionalities of the position to a T. You just can't guard him. But with that being said, look for Jacksonville to bracket and double team time in and time out on Travis Kelce. I think the remedy for the Jacksonville Jaguars is they're going to try to make Kansas City run the ball. Why do I say that? If you can take away the air attack of the Kansas City Chiefs, they become very one-dimensional. Do you know any of the names of the running backs for Kansas City Chiefs? No, neither do I. So that's the recipe for Jacksonville to ultimately win. Not saying they're winning, but that should be the recipe. Along with, the ball management, run the ball, keep Mahomes on the sideline, yada, 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 yada. It's easier said than done. A lot of people tried it. A lot of people have failed. But with that being said, in this game in its totality, I look for the Kansas City Chiefs to win. I'm not saying they're going to cover. They will win. And I do look for an onslaught of scoring. I believe the total in itself is 52.5, 53 points on some books. So look for the over to hit, as the air attack for both teams will be sharp and precise. And, you should see a whole bunch of bells and whistles. After all, it is Andy Reid on the side, and he's known as the offensive guru that stands. But my pick is to go with the over, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville makes it much closer for comfort than everybody wishes for. And that's my pick. Next game up, we have the New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Another very interesting game. This is almost going to be chess match like. I say that to say this. Philadelphia, they have superstars all around the field. They have, both on offensive side and on the defensive side. However, Jalen Hurts is going to be entering his first game in the better portion of 3 or 4 weeks, from how I understand it. He had suffered a shoulder injury, and it happened to be on his throwing shoulder. So, there's tons of speculation. He was not on the injury report in any way, shape, or form. So that's fairly interesting. How is he going to look? Trust me, when you play sports, you only get better by playing the sport. You don't get better by, just rehabbing or sitting on your couch. Not to say that, at his stature, he's just sitting at the couch. I'm sure he did everything in his power to get right back on the field. And they had preserved him the last couple of weeks of the season, which shown little chinks in their armor, so to speak, and everybody had levels of raised concern. But, things happen. They ultimately got the overall #1 seed in the NFC conference, so they have home field advantage to their disposal. As it pertains to the New York Giants, these are rivals. They're not only in the same NFC conference, they're in the same division, the NFC East. So they see each other quite a few times. The story with this and the breakdown with this is that Philly has basically owned the Giants and continue to own them this season. But it is pro sports. It is hard to beat a team 3 straight times. I'm not saying the Giants are going to win. I'm not saying that they're going to overpower the Eagles in any way, shape, or form. But you have to reserve the right to understand these are professionals that they are playing on the flip side. So they get paid too. They have pride, and that's exactly what's going to go into this game. How I like this breakdown in this game is that the Eagles definitely have a suspect run defense. Not saying anything about their pass defense, because they can get to the quarterback and their back end can definitely shut down receivers if need be. But if you put the ball on the ground, or if the right people have the ball in their hands, it's very, very difficult for the Eagles to bring them down to the ground. And with how Saquon Barkley has been playing, it's going to get real scary, because if they get Saquon Barkley a number of touches, I'm not an analytics person, but I'm going to say if they get him 30 to 35 touches this game, it might pose a problem for the Philadelphia Eagles. Also, Daniel Jones, he's just been, he's just had a resurgence. He had definitely a career day last week, throwing over for 300 yards and also rushing over for 75 yards. Daniel Jones is very athletic. I think a lot of people poo-poo on his athleticism, because if you crowd him, he's going to run out the window. And when he runs out the window, trust me, he has some wheels. So I think that's one of the situations where Philly has to either put a QB spy or be fully aware that he can utilize that as a weapon. His legs, I mean. As it pertains to the Giants and the receivers, they have to wake up. They cannot get beaten off their routes or anything of that manner. And also on the defensive side, I'm sure look for the defense of the Giants to test and hit and smack Jalen Hurts. Like I said, he's just now coming back. Doesn't mean he's going to come back and be Superman. You never know how these things turn out. But they do have a well-oiled offense. They do have A.J. Brown. They have a plethora of receivers and running backs and things of that nature. Devontae Smith is also part of that receiving core. They have weapons. But what Jalen Hurts will we be getting? I just don't know how that's going to turn out. But for me, like I said, beating someone twice, statement. But beating someone 3 times, it's going to be pretty hard. Anyway, the number for this game is 7.5. It's the spread. I'm a roll with the Giants with the points, and I look for the Giants to give a very, very hard-fought game. Not saying they're going to win, but if you were me, I advise you take the 7.5 points, and that's my pick. Next game up are the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Buffalo Bills. These two teams specifically have been on a pseudo collision course. Actually, the last time these two teams met, they had the very tragic incident regarding safety Damar Hamlin, and it was something where you just had to turn off the TV screen and just prayed and keep the young man in your prayers and made sure he made a full recovery. Thankfully, he did. He's upright. He's breathing. He's moving. And, all we can do is wish for the best for him. But when it pertains to this game, this is going to be you thought the last few times, the few meetings were, battles. This is going to be the ultimate battle. Obviously, some key pieces on both sides are going to be missing. What's going to be scary is that Joe Burrow is going to be missing 2, I think, or 3 of his offensive linemen. You know how he started out this season. You know how the previous seasons went out for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is brave. He's a smart young man. He has quick wit. But like I always tell you, if you get hit, it will hurt. So I'm predicting in this game, if Buffalo are able to get enough hurries, enough rushes, and able to get enough hits on Joe Burrow, it's going to knock some of that confidence out of him. I don't care who you are. You can be as confident as you want to be. No one wants someone upwards of 275 to 300 pounds running, chasing, and wanting to kill you. It's not fun. But this is what he's going to have to be dealing with. But on the other side, the unfortunate thing is that Buffalo does not have Von Miller, their key free agent, that marquee free agent who causes havoc when the game is on the line. He is a big-time player. He's a big game player. And they will be missing that because that is what's going to spark the defense. But they have other characters. They have Milano at middle linebacker. He's no joke. He can rush and he can also cover. He's very dangerous. If I'm not mistaken, he is first-team All-Pro this season. He is a load to deal with. But if Joe Burrow is able to utilize his weapons, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Mixon, P. Ryan, and the list goes on and on and on and on. All those guys are interchangeable. He can throw it literally with his eyes closed. Those guys will go and seek the football. The challenge with Buffalo is that their secondary has been really lacking. They have some big names back there, but they have yet to make plays. If memory serves it, last week when they played Miami, they were so far ahead. Miami actually came back to the point of, almost upsetting Buffalo, which would have been unheard of. But, they have only themselves to blame. And I'm not saying that was only the cause of the defense, but a lot of that falls on Josh Allen. Let me tell you something. Josh Allen, very big, strong kid. You're talking about someone who's about 6'6" and about 250 pounds and probably has a sledgehammer shotgun for an arm. But his decision making, especially when it comes to in the red zone and his short passing yardage or miscommunications or just check down, he doesn't do it. And for whatever reason, there's some kind of disconnect when he does those kind of things because they ultimately they result in turnovers. And in the playoffs, whoever turns the ball over the least tends to win. If you're the opposite, if you're the person that turns over the most, you're going to lose. No matter how talented you are or what it says on paper, it never translates that way if you do the polar opposite. So what I'm looking for in this game is that he's going to be very careful. He being Josh Allen, he's going to utilize and he's going to pick his poison and he's going to pick his shots. Yes, he has Stephon Diggs. He has Gabe Davis. He has a whole bunch of other guys on the team that can make plays. They lack a running game. Their running game is Josh Allen. I'm not happy about that because you never want to put your QB in a position where he has to be the playmaker. Just not happening. Not only does that expend his energy, but he runs the risk of getting injured. And that's a target on him because whenever you pull down that ball, you are an active running back and you're going to get hit. But with all that being said, I look for this game to translate a little differently. I think the Bengals will come out and seemingly do their thing. But like I said, the offensive line for the Bengals, it's going to be very makeshift. It's going to be, bandaged almost. And look for Buffalo to get just enough rushes to disturb Joe Burrow where he makes turnovers and his receivers will be frustrated all day long. So here I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, and I believe they're giving 5.5 points, 6 points. Take Buffalo to clear the points because that's exactly what they're going to do. They might start off slow, but ultimately they'll pull away, and that's my pick. Next game up are the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now look, I know everyone is looking at that San Francisco team and that vaunted defense and just looking at them and saying, you're looking for the Cowboys to do cowboy things. I don't think that's going to be the case in this game, this season. I think in this game, the Cowboys will actually shine. That momentum that they have built from last week's play, actually Monday night's play, was just, it was something to see. You don't really see that very much. You see an accurate Dak Prescott. You see him throwing darts to his receivers, and you saw that defense just howling, knocking, and turning over the opposing team. When they get things rolling like that, Dallas is actually a very hard team to beat. They're actually the top 10 in both categories. Both top 10 in offensive categories, both top 10 in defensive categories. They're scary. And, Jerry Jones has been wishing this for quite some time. So let's see what happens. But as it pertains to this game, yes, I know Kyle Shanahan is the coach of the 49ers, the guru, the genius of all those running schemes, all the variations, all those motions, yada, yada, yada. But as it pertains to this game, yes, he has all those weapons. He has Kittle. He has Deebo Samuel. He has Christian McCaffrey. He has Brandon Ayuk. He has a whole host of receivers. He has a bunch of skill players all over the place. What is going to boil down to it, and this is how I look at it, what is going to boil down to it is, can Brock Purdy, if he's placed into position, can he make a play? We don't know yet. Like, so far, he's had, the training wheels, so to speak. He's had all the guidance. He's had the plays kind of curbed. He has had the offensive line shifted and redirected. And, he's playing with very, awesome skill players. Players where if you literally just pitch or hand or throw them the ball, they will make the play. So he's really not doing much. He is what we call he is just managing the game. He is a game manager. But he is a rookie. He's only, I believe, four or five games in. He's doing real well. I'm not knocking him at all. But at this juncture, the stakes are higher. The pressure is tighter. You just don't know how someone's going to react under the circumstances. I'm saying this, and I know it's not going to be a very popular decision. San Francisco rushes 4. I'll tell you what their scheme is. On defense, they rush 4. They have Bosa and all those other 3 guys that rush down and cause havoc all game. If Dallas can keep Dak relatively upright and relatively clean for the majority of the game, they will win. I say that because they have big offensive linemen to offset that. But what's going to happen is the execution. Also, what's an Achilles heel for Dallas is they commit too many turnovers. Not too many turnovers, too many penalties. I misspoke on that. But with that being said, look for them to sharpen their timing and execution. If they do that, it's going to be a problem. Because you know why? 49ers, they're not very good in the secondary. And also, their linebackers, they don't want to be caught out there in coverage. If you look at what's been going on, especially with the design of the Dallas Cowboys offense, their tight end, I believe his name is Goddard, or I forget his name, not Goddard, but I forget his name. He's actually a pretty good tight end. No one has thought to really pay attention to him in the offensive scheme. If you see what he's doing, the routes that he runs an out or he runs a seam. He's always open. Remember what I said. He's always open. Then also now you have to account for Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is Dallas's home run threat. You hand him the ball. If he sees a marker of space, he's gone. He's going into the end zone probably untouched. His speed is impeccable. And I don't think the 49ers are ready for all that. With all things being considered, it's going to be a well thought out game. It's going to definitely be a chess match for sure. But those are the things. And yes, I understand the San Francisco 49ers, they thrive on the run. And what is the Achilles heel for the Dallas Cowboys? They can't stop nobody on the run. Michael Parsons is always looking somewhere, or they're scheming away from him. He has to understand, he has to stay disciplined in his gaps. If he stays disciplined in his gaps, they'll be fine. I'm not going to say they're going to stop 49ers, but they'll be fine. And if you can stop the 49ers from running, it makes them one-dimensional. Then and only then we really see the real Brock Purdy. What does he have? Does he have the capability of making plays? And to be honest, I think the stage is too big, and I think Dallas is riding on a wave that's, definitely unspoken of right now. Yes, I know it was only one game, but I know everybody's looking for the proverbial Cowboys to do cowboy things. But this game, I don't see it. And also, if memory serves it, these two teams, I think Dallas owes them some kind of payback, right? Because they didn't get their just due, and they got kind of cheated on the clock management the last time they played when the stakes were this high. So I look for Dallas to not only take the spread at 3.5, I'm looking for Dallas to pull off the upset and actually win. And that's my pick. Now we got these picks in. It should be a joyful weekend. Football both on Saturday and Sunday. I remind you, do not put these games on a parlay. You're only fooling yourself. Make them individual plays. After all, the idea and the goal is to make some money. So if you make one and you lose one, you go 50%. That's a good ratio as opposed to going goose egg and you're losing your money and being upset and bitter. But like all things, it is based on trial and error. If you lose, try again. I'm not a person that does all the props and all that kind of stuff, but you have a plethora of avenues to bet these games. You can do in-game bets. You can do the prop bets. You can just about do anything, whether on timeouts or anything, depending on whatever platform you do. All of them are well served. But with all that being said, everybody, I want you guys to get some winnings. I know I want to win. I want to see you win. I want to hear about you winning. So please comment. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and share. The channel's only going to get bigger if you make it bigger. So until next time, you're here with me, Clem Boogie.